Welcome to part one of a two-part series on the Power Women of the Trades podcast. Today's guest is Heather Ripley.
Hi, I'm Kelly Rowlett-Presgrave. I'm president and CEO of Work With Your Hands, and we are so proud to be a sponsor of Power Women of the Trades podcast. You can reach us at workwithyourhands.com. Kelly at workwithyourhands.com is my email.
At Relentless Digital, we believe in breaking barriers and driving innovation. That's why we are extremely proud to sponsor the Power Women of the Trades podcast, supporting the voices and success of women in the home service industry. Together, we're creating a future where talent shines, regardless of gender, and diversity thrives. Join our journey at relentless-digital.com and always be relentless in your pursuit of excellence.
This episode of Power Women of the Trades is also brought to you by Forrest Perry of Forrest Perry Digital Marketing. Want to generate more leads for your service business? Trust his team to deliver quality new customer leads and protect your brand online. Check out perrymarketing.com today.
Chirp, the ultimate automation toolbox for home service businesses. Chirp helps you capture more leads, connect faster, close more deals, and create customers for life. Through text message, email, and ringless voicemail automation, Chirp can help you transform your customer's experience. Learn more in the show notes below.
Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
So Heather, welcome. We're excited to have you on. I love having people on the show that I work with. Because there's a few things.
So
It's easy. There's a relationship already. We already work with you. And I think this is an interesting perspective for some of our people. You know, a few years ago when I first met you, Heather is the owner. It's Ripley PR. I write the check to you. So I should know the name.
Dang it, Cassie.
Dang.
Can you do some research on our...
I know it. Well, I know it. We use
people that you actually use,
yes,
too.
I love correct, right? Well, I know your name. You know how sometimes people have like a different company name, and I was like, I'm going to throw the wrong name out here. But a few years ago, someone, I think actually maybe Leslie introduced me to you, and I was like, why do I need PR? You know? And now that literally from the second that we hired or like partnered with Ripley PR, every month I'm like, oh, we have a team for this. We have a team for this. And so it's like, I really appreciate that. So I think it's a cool perspective to see why you need PR in the trades. And so can we start kind of there though? Because how did you end up PRing for the trades?
Thank you for having me, by the way. Yeah, I started my career in the trades doing marketing. And every now and then we would have some kind of press releases at Clockwork, the company that I worked for, which was a parent company of Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, 1 Hour Heating and Air, and Mr. Sparky. Mm-hmm. And I quickly realized that the franchise owners, we had 600 something owners throughout the U.S., they were spending all kinds of money on marketing every day. The same things. Everybody was doing the exact same things. They had awesome truck wraps. They were doing billboards. They were doing radio spots. They were doing TV spots, door hangers, mailers, everything. But they're competing with companies that are doing exactly the same things in their market. And so I started talking to a select few of those franchise owners, asking them if they ever did PR. It was kind of like the Wild West. And this was 14, 15 years ago. But it's funny how it's still kind of an unknown type of tactic of marketing now with even the best home service companies out there. They're doing the same things they were doing 10, 12 years ago. And they're having a harder time standing out in their market. So that's kind of how I got into it. But I quickly realized that PR could help them be different and truly dominate their markets by leveraging the media to help tell stories about the company, what it's like working there, how they're different, how they're giving back to the community, and positioning them as a cool company.
Yeah. And so like for us specifically, I think for me I've always thought of the PR as like the cleanup crew, and so that still can be true. But also that's not the sole purpose, because we always think of like, oh, that's a PR stunt, and that's a PR, like, because of like the Kardashians or whatever. Right? You think about all the things, that's some fact for some places, but that's not all that it encompasses with PR. And so when we joined, but I will say, when we started working with you, I think in like November or December, we immediately had, I think it's like last October, we immediately had something come up that I was like, oh gosh. It was nothing that we had done, but it was something that involved someone that worked for us. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was like, this is why I just hired Ripley PR. And I was able to like call right then and say, hey, is this even something I need to be worried about? And
that's the best part too.
Yes. And she was like, hang on, the team's going to reach out. The team, they had a media release, they had all these things, and we did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong. It was just simply if there was something come up because of a team member's choice, what was I going to do and whatever. And so that was the first piece that I was like, yep, okay, this makes sense. And then from there,
it's just nice having that in your back pocket in case you do need it. But really, I feel like PR is just so important to your branding strategy, right? It's top of the funnel.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that, of like people rebranding lately. They, like we can talk specifically about Dan, right? I rebranded with Dan in 2020, and that's great. He did a wonderful job for us. But we probably didn't actually really do as much as we could with our branding until like 2022, late 21, because once you get your new package of your brand, what are you supposed to do from there?
Yeah, and Dan does a great job. I think he's probably the best in the industry. Yeah, no question. But a lot of companies rebrand because they either bought a partner out and they need to change the name, or they feel like the name no longer serves them. They're no longer ABC Plumbing. Now they do heating and air and electric too, so they need to change their name. So there's a lot of different reasons to change your name. But when you do that, if you don't communicate proactively to the media that same company, same owners, same values, then it looks like you went out of business or that someone bought you out. And if you don't get ahead of that, your competitors, and I've seen this time and time again, your competitors are going to make up stuff about you. They're going to say you went bankrupt or whatever. And it's harder to clean it up if that's already the perception out there. I've had companies a year after they rebranded say, we need to tell the media about this because our competitors are saying that, this or that, and they're making up rumors. But it's no longer newsworthy at that point. It's no longer something recent that happened, so the media is less likely to talk about it.
Yeah, I can.
So you really have to have that in your overall strategy.
So I can give you an example. 4 years ago, we added plumbing. We were heating and cooling only, and we added plumbing, and we just added plumbing, and that was it. When we rebranded with Dan, plumbing was added onto the logo, and so that was a little bit, but we didn't communicate it. We did not communicate it with our customers, maybe a little with our membership people. We didn't send emails. We didn't send this. We didn't send that. We did nothing. Okay. And then this round, when we added electric, it has been a game changer, because from the jump, Ripley sent out a quality is added electric into its services and yada, yada, yada. We had so many customers send us, it was the Tulsa World picked that up, and we were in the business section of Tulsa World. We had a lot of customers. We had like 4 customers send the clipping of the actual newspaper to our office, so we had it.
Well, and it lets you control the narrative about your business and the story, so nobody else gets to create that story for you.
Exactly. And so I can tell you from that perspective right there, like I did it one way the wrong way and the second way the right way. So to the point that we keep laughing of what did we think was going to happen here? We had fully intended to add electric. We would add 1 truck. We would have 2 trucks hopefully by May, and then we would go from there. Within the first month, basically we'll have like 4 trucks before May. because of how we positioned ourselves from the announcement, starting with Ripley PR, who wrote up the article and, like I said, got us there. They send it out, and then, it's not up to them who picks it, but there's a few times that I'm like, hey, I really am hoping the Tulsa World grabs this, or whoever, whatever. And they're out there doing that for us. And that's just a little piece of what you guys do for us, right? But I can just tell you from my experience of announcing plumbing versus announcing electric, night and day difference.
That's so interesting.
Night and day difference.
Because I wouldn't have even have thought of that being part of it, but you're right. It is.
Yeah, because it's like in the Tulsa World, and now, since our customers send us to us, because I don't get the paper. That's the other funny thing too here. Okay, so
you said Tulsa World, and I was like, that must be a newspaper.
It is a newspaper. That's the other funny thing here. Okay, so we as owners or operators are guilty of not doing certain type of marketing because we don't read it. We don't get it. You're already shaking your head like, yeah, girl, right? Like, for example, we're going on the radio right now, and I was hesitant at first because I don't listen to the radio, and the analytics proves that all of our customers still do. Not all of them, but a good majority of them are still listening to the radio. I initially, 3-4 years ago, had you said, Cassie, we're going to make this announcement, we hope the local newspaper picks it up, I would have been like, well, I don't read the newspaper, so that's stupid. But then here's my customers clipping the article and mailing it to our office because they are reading it. So we have to get out of what we think is you're not your customer.
Do you have a social media department to the PR team?
Our content team does social media for clients. So we found after having specialists that do nothing but social media, it's better handled by our content team, just because of the work we do. So we don't sell a whole lot of social media. That's not what we're going after, but we do want to communicate those news pickups and position you guys as experts in case the media is looking at your Facebook page, stuff like that.
I mean, how, okay, let me think about how I want to ask this. Not necessarily social media, but because you've got print and you have digital now, how do you use Ripley PR for your digital part of it instead of just a social media strategist? I
see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Instead of Jen, I know she handles our social media, but she's not a PR person, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you get it localized to your local market digitally?
We would ask to work with your social media team to make sure that if we get a pickup, we're sharing that with the correct person who can then push it out on different channels in different ways. We know that not every social media channel is the same. It shouldn't have the exact same message. But if you're sharing that, that's valuable. Just to give you a random example, you guys know I co-own a martial arts school with my husband. It's very consumer based, and it's very similar to home service because we're constantly having to try to make the phone ring to get new people in the door. It's hard. It's very different than B2B marketing. And we got a big write-up in the local newspaper. And again, I'm not a subscriber to the local newspaper either. I'm like you, Cassie. I don't read it every day. But I do look at headlines on Facebook or LinkedIn when I'm kind of scrolling. I see some of those newspaper articles being shared, and we did get leads from it. But what I did was I took that article, I printed a plaque, and I put it in it's one of the first things you see when you walk in our door. And it's not digital necessarily, but I tell our home service clients, do the same thing when you get those newspaper write-ups, because if you're interviewing technicians and they're coming in your office, they're going to see all of that, and it adds credibility. So anytime you can share anything, TV, radio, print, share it. Digitally, share it on your walls in your office, share it with your employees. They'll share it too, because it's, everybody wants to work for a company they're proud of. So the more shares you can get out of that stuff, the better.
So what we do at Quality is once Ripley, in our package with him, we have at least one thing going out a month. Kaylee, our marketing director, takes that story and she's doing something with it. So either she's posting it on Facebook, she's posting it on, or making a reel. One time we got got a spot right before the freeze with the local news station, and they came and recorded. And when that went live, she turned that into a reel and posted it on our Facebook page. And so she's just repurposing the stuff. But somebody, if they didn't have like a Kaylee and somebody would need to take that and then just post it. Even if it's just posting the link, of here's to the Newswire article. But people want to see that. I post everything also on my personal Facebook because I have a different following on my personal Facebook than maybe even our company page. And it's just additional exposure. At first, it's interesting too sometimes, and maybe you can explain this. We are in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We do business in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then sometimes our story gets picked up in like
on a national
thing. And I'm like, do we want that? Can you tell us how that works? And
yeah, well, we use PR Newswire as our online distribution channel. We don't rely on it. A lot of agencies will just push something out there and hope somebody local picks it up. But we like the link backs, and that helps your SEO team. Mm-hmm. Because when we write a press release, we're linking to different pages on your website. And whenever those aggregators on PR Newswire pick it up, you might have a San Francisco newspaper or TV station short on news that day, and they'll pick it up. And the way it works is sometimes an AP, Associated Press journalist, might see it and think, oh gosh, that's a local story, but it's topical here too. So they could then bring it locally and talk about it. So it doesn't hurt that your name's getting put out there on a national level. It actually helps with all those link backs. So you get hundreds of relevant news stations linking to your website, which then raises your rank.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cool.
I remember that.
It's good stuff. And so, like I said, I don't think that PR is like specific to company size either.
No.
I just evolved a lot in my life, ladies.
Tell us about it.
I've just evolved.
Let's hear it.
I just feel, but seriously, I think there were so many things that I used to think, well, no, that's for bigger companies. No, that's for this. No, that's for that. No, ma'am. That's how you become a bigger company.
Do you guys work with like the local? Well, I'm asking this, but like I know the answer because I've worked with you, but I want you to talk more about it. You work with local news stations and local publications and magazines, so it's relevant to the area that you're servicing. Talk a little bit about that and what someone could expect, because I remember Brent would do interviews all the time with the local news station talking about plumbing. Explain a little bit more like the strategy behind how you go in to get because you're not a local company to us, but how you're going to get us local PR.
Mm-hmm. We're different because we do create news. We have a team of former journalists. So some of them are TV reporters in a former life, and some are print journalists. And so they use that knowledge to help our clients and help our content team craft a press release that's going to be interesting to a journalist, wherever it is. So we're watching the weather. If we have a client in Roanoke, we're watching the weather. We're watching for those deep freezes or the first freeze of the year. We're watching for relevant national news that a local company can talk about. And Leslie, you mentioned this, but we have clients, home service clients all over the country. And so what we find can work for one can work for another too. So it's really beneficial. Our team knows the home service industry. We're watching for those national events, if you will, and then we're pitching the local media with a local expert that can talk about it and bring it back nationally.
Because like I said, I love having guests on when I can speak about it, right? But because sometimes we're just like, we can't always do that, right? But I love that I can say like, yes, exactly. So their team will send us an email and say, hey, we're pitching this to the local news. Would someone be available to do this? If they pick it up, someone would have to film, right? And I'm like, cool. Or, I think like Valentine's Day, they were like, hey, there was something being talked about doing like working with your spouse. And I was like, listen, I love him, but we talk about this all the time and I don't want to do it anymore. Not that I didn't want to, but it was like, like, no, I don't love that. If you're telling me it's like something I really need to do, we'll do it. But we're both kind of over that, you know? And so they're like, fine. You know what I mean? But it's like all of those pieces.
What were they were wanting you to talk about what it's like to work with your spouse?
Well, not necessarily them. Like there was a local story that was doing like spouse stuff.
Husband on my team.
And it was like.
You caught me on a bad day.
Yeah,
No.
Well, no, it wasn't even a bad day, but it's like, I want to stay more relevant to heating and air right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but it's like a conversation.
Yeah.
It's things that you're not even thinking about that they are. And heck, somebody somewhere probably did do a story like that month, you know, because obviously it's that month, you know. In hindsight, February is a crappy month for HVAC, so maybe I should have done that.
Should we have used Ripley for PR for the podcast? That's what I've been thinking. Do you PR podcasts? Like there's so many in our space.
Yeah, we do.
You do? I was wondering that.
If you think about it, it's like a book launch or something like that, where you know you want to tell the trades that you're out there. And you guys, I know you have sponsors.
Yeah.
So in a press release for the podcast, you might talk about what the benefits are for sponsors, and you could kind of do a call for sponsors. It's the same type of strategy as we would use for an event.
That makes sense.
See, that's the thing about it that I think is enlightening about PR, because I can
just hit me.
When I can remember when I first learned about you, Heather, specifically, and I was just like, why though? I just didn't get it, because like I said, I'm not
Branding.
The Kardashian.
Yeah.
You know, I put PR with glam and celebrity.
But that's what you are. What are you talking about?
LOL. Oh, geez.
Both of those things.
I hope they clip this for Facebook and TikTok. Jen.
Oh, this could be a sound.
Yeah, but she is.
This sound has potential.
But I put this glam in this. It had to be a celebrity thing, and because of my ignorance, right? Because remember, we're all a lot of owners, operators, technicians that don't always have a formal education. And I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm talking about myself. I do not have a college degree. I passed high school. Okay, I was so quiet. I just didn't know. I came from a small town, the same one that I'm still in, and I just didn't know these things because in Oklahoma, we don't still live in teepees. Some people still think we do, And so I just didn't know what PR was. But now that I have seen it work and how it works with our entire marketing plan.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review at Apple. And make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.